is going to be ipso facto. I mean, if the USDX goes, tests 71.18, and drops to 40, I mean, the devaluation is already a reality. And the other thing that's going on, and they're trying to cover it up in the press, is, and this was a question I had for the show this morning I was on with Alex Jones, but I never really got a chance to address it, and it's the rigging of the markets. And very simply, under the executive order of August of 1988, the Working Group on Financial Markets can rig all markets. It's as simple as that. They have distorted the whole thing. That was not the intention of Reagan when he signed that thing, but that's the way it turned out. And you have Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, and J.P. Morgan Chase coming out with good earnings, if not spectacular earnings, when the country is in depression. And one of the reasons they're able to do that is that they don't have to mark their securities to the market. They can mark them to model, which means it is what they think they are. And if the reality of the markets were put on their balance sheet, they'd all be bankrupt. And I think people are catching on, even on Wall Street, that the markets are rigged. There's something seriously wrong here. Where it's going to go, they don't want to know, because they don't want it to happen, because it's their livelihood. And I think this is going to come to fore, especially with all of the traders getting screwed by Goldman Sachs by using a Promex INSLAW type program that was given to them by the U.S. government to front-run everybody in the market. I mean, how can people, particularly professionals, go into the market and participate in a big way in the regular stocks like GE and so on and so forth? And they're not going to do it if they think they're going to get killed every time they go in there.
Bob?
Also, go ahead.
Bob, I got a question for you. These earnings reported by Goldman Sachs, Citi, and J.P. Morgan, I mean, you're right, they're spectacular, but you know what? It could even backfire on them a little bit, because you would think, I mean, people have to be a little upset. Here you have these billions and billions of bailouts. The people of this country are losing their jobs. They can't pay their bills. They're losing their homes. There's millions of people are being foreclosed on. And here the three people that were bailed out are making billions of dollars.
Yeah, bailed out with their money.
Bailed out with their money. And that kind of has to tick you off.
Oh, these people, I was watching Max Kaiser out of Paris yesterday, and he was saying, when asked about Goldman Sachs, he said they are absolute scum. Incredible. And he's absolutely right. He said they've co-opted the United States government, and he's right. I mean, we don't run our government anymore. Congress doesn't run it. Wall Street and banking, Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan Chase, and Citigroup run America, and they don't give a darn what we think.
Yeah, it is amazing.
Take some more drugs.
Yeah. More vinegar.
What was that, vinegar you were drinking?
More vinegar.
Well, anyway, I think the gold and silver market's going higher next week. I think the stock market's going to go down next week. At best, stay about even. And I have a couple of questions here. One of them just came in from Bob. No, Anthony. Is the government playing with the housing start numbers? The answer is yes. They play with all kinds of numbers. The CNBC says one-family house starts are up. Yes, that is what has been reported, and I don't believe that. Is this possible or just more lies? More lies. Also, can you comment on the Rubini statements on the economy? And I get two. The second question I have is the same.
I have one of those, too.
From Joe. And so now we get three of them.
Yep.
And supposedly, Rubini said the worst of the economic crisis is over. That's not what he said. That's number one. Although he did dance around the subject. And I still think he's not on our side. And I expected this sort of thing from him. He's still talking about the recession ending by the end of the year. He's never talked about gold, won't talk about gold. So as far as I'm concerned, he's a false leader. And I know some stuff about him that you don't even want to hear. I mean, I wouldn't even say what this guy is up to on the radio. I mean, he's one sick puppy, let me tell you.
Which guy's that?
Rubini.
Oh, yeah.
And I get this from a psychiatrist in New York City who volunteered it. I mean, this guy is a real pervert. And we'll leave it at that.
Did you ever hear of the Office of International Treasury Control?
Never.
OITC, they claim to be the largest holder of gold and platinum bullion in the world.
How could we have not known them if they are?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of them?
No, I haven't. That question came in from Martin today.
Well, Martin, we have to have more information in that. I don't know anything about them.
He sent me the information on Wikipedia, and it says it's a controversial entity which claims to be associated with the UN and the Federal Reserve, the Central Bank of the United States.
I can't believe that.
It's a high-profile interventions in local economic affairs, have attracted public controversy in Ecuador, Fiji, and the UK. Its principal figures have been questioned by government and law enforcement agencies, and the UN and Federal Reserve have denied any knowledge or connection.
I don't believe it. I think it's false information. I mean, gosh, I've been doing this for 50 years. I don't know everything, but I would have thought I would have heard of something about that, you know?
Yeah. Here's another question, Bob. You just alluded to the fact that the dollar may hit 40 in the USD index. People holding U.S. dollars may have to exchange 3 old dollars for 1 new one. If this occurred, wouldn't this make gold and silver cheaper in other currencies, since this would essentially be equivalent to withdrawing 2/3 of the money supply from the system?
Well, what you're doing is you're reducing the money supply in the system. But, you know, in order to make up for the diminution in the value of the dollar, if it went down by 2/3, then that means that the price of gold would have to, and silver, would have to go up that much. Plus, it's underpriced now, so, you know, you're looking at $2,000 or $3,000 an ounce. So if there's a devaluation, you don't want to be in dollars where you're only going to get 1 for 3 old ones. You want to be buying gold now and silver now, or the shares, or both. It's an opportunity of a lifetime, knowing that there's a devaluation coming. You know, I called it a devaluation of the Mexican peso years ago, and I think it was 1990, 1991. I said, that they will devalue. They were holding it at 1-to-1. I said it would go to, I think, 3.25 to 1, and that's where it went. And then later, I said it would go higher, probably to 7, and it went to 7. And then I said it would go lower again. I should have said lower again to 10, and it did that. In fact, it was 13.46 this morning. And so if you had Mexican pesos back in, say, 1992 to 95, and you were buying centenarios with the money, you retained the value of your money. So, instead of losing 300% in the purchasing power of the peso, you kept your purchasing power because the price of gold in pesos went up. So that's your answer. Buy with both hands, hoping that Bob is right. And I think I am. I discussed it with one other newsletter writer who I respect very much. He's a very bright guy, and he agrees. And I received an email from another writer this morning who wants to interview me, and I won't mention their names, but they're really good at what they do, and the second one verified the fact that I had said, and in fact, I know for sure there's 6 embassies of the United States government that receive massive amounts of cash in order to buy local currencies, and that's a fact. Now, how many there are in total, I don't know, but I would assume there might be hundreds, for all I know. And the only reason they would do that is not